If you share a passion, if you think that's a journey that's made out for you, feel free to talk to anyone who is here on stage. It's about sharing passions, looking to ignite, looking to spark something in your life. So with that, we'd like to welcome an undergraduate, Tyler Dillon, Northwestern 2014, to explain how he believes the origins of college harm society today. Tyler, come on up to stage, please.
Hello, how's everyone doing today? That was a little loud, sorry for that. But, okay, first off, can we get another round of applause for the One campaign? That is an amazing organization. All of you should join. Everyone I've met from the campaign's just so dedicated, and that's what really matters. But as my introduction just said, I'm Tyler Dillon. This is my first Leadership Institute, and I'm just having a great time so far, but you don't want to hear that. Today, I'm here to talk about higher education. And to start off, I want you all to think about one question. I want you to answer this in your mind. I don't want to hear it at all. Why did you decide to go to college? All of you, at some point in your life, made that decision. Why did you decide to go? Was it to learn something new, experience new horizons, hit on that cute girl down the hall, then when she rejects you, hit on her roommate? Was it to just meet new friends? Well, while all of those are benefits, I'm going to guess that for 99% of you, you're not going to pay 21 grand a year to meet new friends. I'm going to guess that all of you went to college to earn that diploma. That diploma symbolizes the skills and knowledge you're supposed to receive. That diploma symbolizes 4 years of what's supposed to be difficult work. Yet, think about that number then, 4 years. Why 4? Did someone just wake up someday and decide 3 years is too short, but 5 years is too long? Well, what happened was back when higher education first came to America, as most of you probably know, Harvard was the first institution, followed by a couple of the other Northeast schools. Some administrators got together, and each school had its own curriculum, and each school decided what they believed undergraduates should know. And back when it was first beginning, or late 1600s, early 1700s, every student who went to, say, Harvard learned the exact same thing. Every student who went to Yale took the exact same amount of classes. And after administrators decided what each student should learn, then what they then determined was that 4 years was the appropriate amount of time that it took an average student to learn all of that material. Well, college has certainly changed dramatically. Harvard introduced the elective system in the late 1800s. Then in the 1900s, concentrations and majors slowly became popular until now. You can basically study 200 plus different things that can be anywhere from art history to chemical engineering. And yet, the 4-year system remains. The problem that I'm proposing to you today is that this 4-year paradigm of higher education actually creates inefficiencies in the system. Think of it this way. What are the chances that all of the art history field experts got together one day, and then all of the chemical engineering experts got together on the same day? And they all said, look, let's determine what our undergraduates should know. And what are the chances that both art history and chemical engineering take exactly 4 years, right? And the problem with this is it creates this 4-year goal that most people at least attempt to achieve, though, surprise, actually it takes most graduates 6 years to complete their education. However, this 4-year goal, let's say, means that universities set a minimum amount of credits it requires to graduate. No matter what your major is, you all roughly have to earn what your school deems as 4 years worth of credit hours. This means that you can very easily take classes that will not benefit you and will not benefit society in any way. Let's be clear about one thing. Education is an investment. It's an investment by you in your future. It's an investment by society in you to expand the economy, critical thinking abilities, whatever you determine. And when you take classes that will not help you at all, then that investment is wasted. So let me get a poll in the room. How many of you have taken what I would deem to be a useless class? A class that did not go with your major, a class that did not expand your critical thinking abilities anyway, a class that you didn't want to take, but you had to take it because your quarter was filled, you needed to take one more class, you just needed to graduate. Show of hands, how many people have taken that class? Yeah, that's what I thought. My friend at the University of Cincinnati, information system major, he got 2 credit hours last quarter by going to the zoo once a week. Information systems hates animals, by the way, doesn't give a beep about them at all. And that's a waste of money. And even at private universities that aren't directly funded by the taxpayer, they don't pay certain taxes. So that's still society losing their investment. Now, this is an inefficient system because obviously at the max amount of money, you want to get the most out of your buck, basically. And you can only have inefficient systems when you have large resources. Well, as you know, most of you quite know, our federal government, a huge giver of financial aid, is about $15 trillion in debt, a little more actually. Our student debt is actually the largest source of unsecured private debt, unsecured meaning that there's no collateral. And that means that it's a drag on our economy. When we're in debt, we have to pay off the debt, we buy less, and that's probably one of the reasons that when I graduate in 2014, the Federal Reserve just predicted that unemployment's still going to be hovering around 7%, even more for recent college graduates. So we have this problem. Now, how do we start to fix it? The fact is, reducing the number of classes isn't going to fix $15 trillion worth of debt, but it's certainly going to help. And, however, we can also assume that universities aren't going to begin to change the system because by trapping you into what's essentially 4-year contracts, they're guaranteeing roughly about 80 grand from you because the average student pays 21 grand a year to go to college. By the way, that's 20% of the median family's income, or the average family's median income. So if universities aren't going to fix it, then we have to rely on another sector, the private sector. And here's what I'm proposing is a little bit radical. When you look at the private sector, what they want are the best. They want the best employees, they want the smartest people, they want the most driven people. But there is an industry in the private sector, the tech industry, that doesn't care about diplomas. Microsoft and Google, as I'm sure many of you know, are infamous for pulling undergraduate students out of their colleges and saying, look, you can graduate 50 grand in debt, or we'll pay you 90 grand a year, and our company is going to look a lot better on your resume than a computer science major. Because you've proven by working with us and by having us train you that you can do everything that that diploma is supposed to represent. So what needs to begin happening is that other private sector industries need to start making this model. They need to look, and especially the first businesses that begin this, they need to start ignoring the diploma. Their human resources departments need to start looking more in depth into the actual skills students have. They need to stop caring about whether a University of Cincinnati student went to the zoo once a week, because that's what that diploma essentially says. If he didn't go to the zoo, he wouldn't graduate. So once they start doing that, they'll be able to pick out the best people, especially if they're one of the first ones. They'll be able to train them much earlier and therefore hold on to them longer. And the less debt that the entire economy is in, the more people can buy of their products or services. So I do want to clarify something as I wrap up here. I have absolutely no interest in getting into the debate about a liberal arts education versus technical job training. I love the college experience. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my belief that college is something special and that you should take advantage of it as much as possible. However, I and every one of you are incredibly fortunate that we can all somehow, whether taking on debt or using parents or helping with federal financial aid, afford probably 4 years of college. Obviously, I don't know every one of you. But we need to recognize that with that, just because we're fortunate enough to have that, doesn't mean that others can. Less than 40% of American adults have graduated from college with a bachelor's degree. Again, by reducing the financial burden that colleges place with this 4-year requirement and just asking for the necessary skills, if people can't afford the 4 years, then we can change the paradigm. We can increase the investment. We can get more bang for our buck. Because ultimately, college should be available to everyone who wants to go. And if they in society can't afford to pay for 4 years, then that shouldn't mean they don't get any return for going for a couple of years. Thank you.